Hey, I'm Rick Martínez. Welcome to my workshop. Today, I'm going to be teaching you how to make molotes con frijoles negros, or roasted plantain fritters. This recipe is really incredible. It exists in the southern parts of Mexico where plantains grow. If you love sweet potatoes, if you love that kind of sweet, savory, salty kind of situation, you are going to love this dish. I'm going to show you how to roast these plantains to get the most flavor and sweetness out of them. Then we're going to stuff them with some delicious refried beans, a little bit of salty cheese, fry them up, get them nice and caramelized, and top them with a really spicy tomato salsa. So let's talk about the star of this dish, the plantain. So when you actually go shopping for plantains, you're probably gonna encounter them like this. Really green, really hard. So on the scale of sweetness and flavor, this is going to be very similar to a waxy potato. It's gonna be very starchy, it's not gonna have a lot of flavor, and it's certainly not gonna have a lot of sweetness. This is what I like. This is probably more on par with a sweet potato. So if you go to the store and you buy a green plantain, all you have to do is throw it in a paper bag, put it in a drawer, keep it sort of in a dark, cool place, and it will eventually turn yellow and then start to get black spots and then eventually turn completely black. You can decide how sweet you want it and then just pull it out of the bag and bake it whenever you're ready. So, because I like sweet, I'm going with this kind. And so now what I'm going to do is preheat my oven to 350 degrees. Very similar to a baked potato, you want to allow the steam to escape. And so I'm just gonna poke some holes in it. And you don't have to go crazy, just a couple of holes, totally fine. And that's it. Now we're just gonna throw them in the oven, roast them for about an hour until they get really soft. You'll see little bubbles coming out, and once they're really soft and completely mashable, just like a baked potato, that's when they're done. It smells so amazing in here. It smells almost like banana bread. It's been about an hour, and I am pretty certain these are done. Yes, look at that. That looks absolutely incredible. They're dark, they're bubbly. So we're gonna check and see if they're done. You can just take a paring knife, and very similar to a baked potato, you just wanna poke them. And if there's no resistance on your knife, they are completely done and they will mash very easily. So these are perfectly done. I'm gonna let them cool off before I try and mash them. And now we're going to make our quick and easy 5-minute blender salsa. I love making salsa, and this one is so easy. I'm using tomatoes, onion, garlic, a little bit of cilantro, and habanero because I love that spicy kick that'll pair really well with the roasted plantains. Basically, you can use the quantities that I give and change out the tomatoes for tomatillos or fruit. I love making a good fruity salsa, so any kind of stone fruit, peaches, plums. So I'm throwing everything in the blender. I'm gonna give it a teaspoon of salt and some cilantro. You can also change up these herbs as well. Lid is on tight, and then off we go. Probably is not gonna take more than about 30 seconds. That is looking good. This is done. So this is all a matter of preference. I like a little bit of chunkiness. I don't like anything that's like completely smooth. You can see there are little pieces of tomato, little hunks of onion. That to me is kind of perfect. Maybe you like a smoother salsa, that's totally fine. Maybe you like bigger chunks, that's totally fine. This will make a perfect topping for the molotes at the end. And now my plantains are cool, so it's time to get those mashed. I'm gonna go ahead and make a little slit in the top. This is going to help me take the peel out. You want the consistency of a mashed potato. If the consistency is a little drier than that, you can always add just a splash of water, maybe a tablespoon or two. This one, for example, I can already tell like it's definitely a lot wetter, a lot moister. That's exactly what I want. This one is a little drier, but that's fine. We can always add a little bit more moisture at the end. Oh, look at this beautiful caramelization. It's so good. This is an indication of sweetness, and I'm all about the sweet. And now that they're all peeled, I've just got my handy dandy potato smasher and just go in and smash away. And I like to try and get it as smooth as possible. You know, you're gonna see there might be a few chunks. Again, just think of this like mashed potatoes. If you like chunky mashed potatoes, then go with it. All I need to do is be able to form a ball and make a little indentation, and as long as they're mashed up enough to do that, you are good. All right, it feels pretty homogeneous. I'm okay with the amount of chunkiness in there. So it's not really sticking to my hands. So that to me is an indication that I don't actually need to add anything to this. If it was a little drier and maybe a little crumbly, then I would probably want to add a little liquid. If it was super, super wet, you might want to add a little bit of flour to it just to keep it from binding and not sticking to your hands, but this is exactly how I want it. It's not sticking, it's pliable, I can make a little divot in there. So this is actually perfect. Now I want to season this with some salt. Okay. Make sure that all the salt is incorporated. I'm gonna give it a little taste. This is actually a really important step, not just because I wanna know what this plantain tastes like, but I wanna know how sweet it is, because that's gonna determine the cook time. So if it's really, really sweet, like a sweet potato, then I'm gonna need to reduce the amount of cook time, possibly reduce the oil temperature as well. If it tastes more like a mashed potato, not very sweet, then I know that I can go full on fry. It's gonna take a little bit longer, and I'm not gonna worry about it burning. All right, I'm going in for the taste. It's so good, oh my God. I love roasted plantains. It is sweet. It's not super sweet, which is great because I think this is gonna pair well with the beans and that salty pop of the cheese. I don't feel like I need to adjust the heat level on the oil, but I am going to very closely watch the cook time because I feel like this is gonna go a little bit faster than if it was a little bit less sweet. I'm feeling very good about the flavor of my plantains. So we are going to heat our oil. This is gonna take a few minutes. So I'm just using vegetable oil. I'm using a cast iron skillet because I love cast iron. And we're gonna come up about 3/4 of an inch up the sides of the pan. And I'm going to put this on probably medium because we're gonna assemble while this is heating up. I don't need it to gum up really aggressively. I don't wanna get the oil super hot. So I'm gonna use a 1/3 cup measure. This is going to help ensure that all of the molotes are equally sized. So I'm gonna roll this up into a ball. And then think of this like making a thumbprint cookie. All we're gonna do is just push down with our thumb and make a little divot. I like to just twist them around. It'll eventually look like half of a coconut shell. We're creating a pocket for our delicious filling. There's enough room in there that I can throw in a tablespoon of refried beans and a sprinkle of cheese, and it's all gonna fit perfectly well. Okay, I'm using refried black beans. This is a traditional filling, particularly in Chiapas and Oaxaca. You can use whatever type of refried bean that you want. I filled this up, and now I'm just gonna put like a sprinkle of cheese. That's about a teaspoon of queso fresco. I'm gonna push that in so that they get fixed into the beans. And now I'm just gonna push that down and then just fold in the sides and seal them up. So I don't need a crazy tight seal because the beans are not gonna run. They're about the same consistency as the plantain. So if there's a little bit of bean showing on the outside, that's totally fine. If there's a little cheese showing on the outside, that is also fine. I just want to make sure that they're as completely wrapped up as possible. And now all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make like a little football shape. They're typically like this little torpedo shape, which I think looks like a little American football, not to be confused with football in other parts of the world or in Mexico. But yeah, that looks perfect. So easy peasy. And I'm just gonna keep going. I love recipes like this that involve a lot of hand, tactile. It reminds me of my mom being home. She was such an inspiration to me. She taught me everything that I know about cooking. And one of the most important things that she taught me is that you cook from love. When you love somebody, you show them your affection through your food. And that's what she did for me and my brother and my father. Like every day that she was alive, she cooked beautiful meals for us. She expressed her love. And I'm really lucky that that's one of the things that I got from her. And so now, when I cook for people, it's me showing my love to them. Last one done. Now we're ready to fry. All right, so my oil is heating up. I'm gonna test to make sure that it's around the right temperature. This is not the time that you need to grab an instant read thermometer. All I'm gonna do is take a wooden spoon and stick the handle into the oil. If I see bubbles, then I know it's ready. We're looking for anywhere between 325 and 350, and you can see we're looking good. All right, oil is good, so we are ready to fry. So just for safety's sake, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put each molote onto the spider and kind of gently drop them in. You can also use a wooden spoon, you can use a fish spat. These are all sort of my favorite fry tools. I think this is just gonna make it a lot easier. So I'm basically going to come in here and then just roll it away from me so that if anything splatters, it's gonna go that way and not towards me. So these are probably going to take about 3 to 4 minutes per side. And I just want a nice golden color. It's so important to taste the plantain before you put this in because if it's super sweet, then it's gonna take less time. If it's really starchy and not sweet, it's gonna take more time. So you just need to like flip them and kind of just look and see. We want nice golden brown color, maybe a little bit of yellow peeking through. But again, it's all gonna depend on the amount of sugar that's in your plantain. And I would just kind of keep them moving so that nothing sticks to the bottom. There's obviously a decent amount of oil in this pan, so I don't feel like they're gonna stick. I'm gonna adjust my flame a little bit. Whenever you're frying, as soon as you put anything cold or room temperature into the pan, the oil temp is gonna drop. So I'm gonna turn it up a little. If I notice that things are getting dark too quickly, then I'll turn the flame back down. You can see I'm getting a little bit of browning where they're sitting on the bottom of the skillet. So I'm just flipping them. All we're really doing is getting the color on the outside. Everything is already cooked through. The beans and the cheese, I want them to be warm, but again, those are already cooked, so there's nothing raw in this pan. We're just getting a nice caramelized exterior. Ooh, that looks really good. This is exactly what I want right there, all the way around. It's sort of like this really nice golden brown caramelization. Little bits of yellow, totally fine. Just keep everybody moving. And if you see little bits of bean and cheese popping through, don't worry about it, it's all good. And to be honest, I actually like those little bits because the beans and the cheese get kind of crunchy and it's an extra layer of caramelly flavor. All right, they are ready to come out. We are mere moments away from eating time, my favorite time. So I'm just gonna land these on a paper towel lined sheet tray. Look at that beautiful golden color. Oh my God. I am feeling incredibly happy with this color. I really can't wait to eat that one with all those little craggly, cheesy, beany bits. Another really hard part of this recipe is I have to wait at least 5 or 10 minutes for those to cool down, and I'm gonna get all of my nice little accoutrement ready, and in 5 minutes, I will be eating molotes. It's time to eat. Okay, so I've been waiting. It's been about 10 minutes. They are still warm, but at least cool enough to eat. So I'm gonna take 3. I'm hungry, and this is going to be a complete lunchtime meal. So I have 3 toppings. I have this beautiful, quick and easy blender salsa. I have more of the queso fresco, which is also on the inside of the molote. And then I have crema, because crema is very common in Mexico, and it's just a nice way to cool things off a little bit. So I think I'm gonna start with my crema. And again, if you can't find Mexican crema, creme fraiche or a little bit of sour cream. thinned out with about a tablespoon of milk will do. And I'm just gonna drizzle this over top. I don't need a whole lot, but I just feel like when you have something really, really spicy, this just kind of cuts through and gives you a nice little pop of coolness. And now I'm going to put some salsa. I like a lot of salsa. I like a lot of heat. Look at all these colors, all these flavors, all these textures. This is exactly what I want to eat. All right, and finally, a little bit more queso fresco, because who doesn't love cheese? I love this because it literally is now looking like a little party on my plate. Oh my gosh. The moment I've been waiting for is finally here. Oh my gosh. So good. Look at that. Oh, make sure I get a little bit of everything. And it's a big bite too. Oh my God. It's so good. Wow. The way that it looks on the plate, like a little party's happening, is exactly what is now happening in my mouth. You get like a little bit of sweetness and warmth from the plantain, the creaminess and the very like deep umami, earthy flavors from the beans. Then that salsa, the habanero just like kind of cuts through. And it's not really super spicy. It's like a really nice, gentle warming on the back of your throat. The cool thing about this dish is that every bite is a little bit different. That was a little bit more bean and cheese, a little less plantain, but it's so good. That one was like a really nice, deep, savory bite. And it's really beautifully warmed through completely. So the inside is like creamy and smooth and warm. This is such an incredibly satisfying dish. I actually really like this as a main. Like literally, this is all I need on one plate. It's a really great vegetarian main, but you can also serve this with a roasted fish or a roasted chicken or other roasted meat, and it makes a great side as well. This is so incredibly delicious. This is a party on a plate. You have to make this right now.